Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With the latest WWE edition of your favorite professional wrestling podcast. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, live from New York City. The Silver King is coming to you right now, sitting in my hotel room, looking out over a beautiful skyline on Wednesday night. It is the Lower East Side. Okay, I get it. Nevertheless, it's an incredible view. I have that on my right. Yankees-Red Sox game on the television on my left. Dinner at Minetta Tavern tonight. Going to the Comedy Cellar to see one of my favorite comedians immediately after that. It's going to be a long night. But before we do any of that, the Silver King is sitting down with you right now, breaking down the entire week in the world of WWE. This is going to be another episode that vintage Chris Vanini is missing. It is, again, not his fault at all. My schedule has been completely out of whack. We're taping this show, 27 hours later than we normally would. And because of that, fitting him in, being able to tape it all in a short period of time so I can go out and have the rest of my night, it just really didn't fit together. But Vintage will be back on Tuesday and every WWE episode going forward. I appreciate his patience. I appreciate all of your patience, not only the fact that I'm running solo, and I much prefer having someone to work off rather than just doing this myself, but also because of, our shitty audio quality. I don't have the travel mic set up I actually need. I also packed for 2 weeks to go to this New York vacation, so in order to bring my normal setup with me, it would have simply taken way too much suitcase space. Wasn't going to do that, so we're making do with what we have. And we're going to bring you the best performance-enhancing audio that we possibly can. Enough about the Silver King. There's plenty for me to talk about this trip starting next week when I get back and moving forward, because I've had an absolute blast in Manhattan, Brooklyn, not so much in Queens, but Queens was fun, and Long Island's okay too. But regardless, it has been quite a trip. Got to see a Yankee game, so on and so forth. We'll tell the stories in the future here at the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. That is not what we are doing today. Here, we are reminding you that on this show,
it's all about Defy.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple, take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, all of that good stuff. You can send in questions and comments for the show. I read as many of them as I could before today, but because we weren't live tweeting the shows over the last week, that usually engenders fewer comments when things are happening. So don't forget to send those in, and we will do our best to include them in the program. Also, on YouTube, when you subscribe at Getting Overcast, you get full-length audio episodes and full-length video interviews. We have a couple major requests in the can that we are planning to get before the year is out. Fingers crossed that we deliver on all of those. Now, look, we have an absolute ton to get to, so let's not waste any more time getting to it. We're going to kick this off, our full breakdown of WWE, as we always do, by sliding into the main event.
This is the main event!
Paul Heyman opened SmackDown threatening to talk for 2 hours, saying he would paraphrase a pseudo-secondary champion, asking what the fans would like to talk about, obviously insulting Cody Rhodes. Fans then chanted OTC. Heyman refused to speak ill of the injured. He mentioned Braun Breaker, Brock Lesnar, leading to Cody interrupting. Michael Cole then called this the Cody Rhodes experience, which was insane, and said he'd be defending the Crown Jewel Championship, which I believe is incorrect. Rhodes corrected himself, saying Heyman was a goon last week. He said he does respect him, but he asked for clarity whether he was speaking to him on that show as the Oracle, wise man, or an advocate. He retorted, "You're talking to the GOAT." Okay, Paul, facts. The Vision surprised out of the crowd, getting in Cody's face, so he tried to make them kind of question Heyman's loyalty, saying, it ain't them. Rhodes then aggressively took off his jacket, threw his watch, attacked the heels in pure dumb but electric babyface fashion. They got up on Cody relatively quick before Randy Orton returned, making the save. They cleared the ring together. Now look, we've seen show opens like this hundreds of times, obviously. There was something about Cody's intonation and approach that made this feel a little bit different, even if it was incredibly familiar. I'm just not going to get gassed up for the obvious booking of Cody being in trouble, Randy returning, and then beating a secondary heel team behind a strong champion. At what point is Orton going to get sick of being Rhodes' backer and realize he should be the one holding this championship? That Cody wouldn't have as long a title run if Randy wasn't always there getting his back. Like, we've been waiting, I feel like, a year for him to come to that realization, and he still hasn't. And to me, that is particularly frustrating, especially when SmackDown is badly, badly in need of compelling television, because outside of the Cody stuff, which really is involving people from Raw, that show continues to struggle on Friday night. And we didn't do our normal news segment getting into the SmackDown versus Raw and all that. Again, it's been a pretty busy 2 weeks for the Silver King here in and around New York. Any news that we missed, we will circle back and cover next Tuesday on the WWE show. Now, over on Raw, the first of a multi-part series about the Rhodes-Rollins rivalry aired. This was titled Enemies. It included 100% fresh, brand new interviews and narration from the guys. It started with Cody's departure from WWE, Seth carrying the company while he was gone, yet still having to beg for a WrestleMania match at which Cody returned. Rollins correctly pointed out Rhodes won the first two via surprise and then a handful of tights. Then they agreed that they began respecting one another during Hell in a Cell. Nothing was really uncovered here, but it did make their forthcoming match feel relatively epic, so I would call it successful. The Usos backstage commiserated with Jimmy asking why Jey left them high and dry last week with LA Knight. Jey said helping Knight gets them absolutely nowhere. He questioned why Jimmy even bothered doing it. He didn't have a real answer to that. Jey said being more aggressive and selfish might actually make him world champion again, which is something Jimmy doesn't understand. Then he calmed down and said he loved him. And look, I said this last week, I believe. Jey is 100 times more interesting with this turn in his gimmick. You couldn't get this out of him without him having been champion, losing the title, going through all the trials and tribulations. But I never would have thought, even 3 months ago, that I'd actually be interested to hear what he's going to say next or pontificate where this character might actually go. Jimmy is actually playing a perfect foil for him, but we did need an answer for why he was helping Knight. Anything would have sufficed. We stand up to bullies. We all hate the Vision. Something. But it still worked. Akira Tozawa and Maxine Dupree were having a sweet moment together backstage when Becky Lynch invaded, dissing Dupree as a worthless loser and a failure. Dupree actually did some good character work with the whole best women's wrestler gimmick, pointing out that some people may say it, but AJ Lee doesn't say it. Tozawa giggled about it, so Lynch just straight up punched him in the face and then battered Dupree when she tried to help him. Then she walked over to Rollins, who was waiting on his badass wife to finish kicking a loser's ass. He was completely unaffected by it. Basically, Rollins was looking at his watch. He decided he was going to hit the ring on his own without her, without Heyman. And let me just be crystal clear. Here was my thought when this segment ended. We do not need another Becky-Maxine match. Let this attack stand on its own. Lynch just being an asshole who doesn't give a shit about nice women like Dupree. That is so much more effective than them fighting, because Maxine doesn't have a leg to stand on. We've seen her wrestle. She's not good enough. Why are you going to put her with the best women's wrestler in the company, at least from an overall standpoint, right? Why does Becky Lynch need to go into the ring with Maxine Dupree and sell a little bit for her and then just win at the end of the day? Becky is Becky. She's already beaten her recently. And besides any of that, it's just, again, I'm going to repeat kind of what I said a moment ago. Lynch is a bigger badass if you have her just beat the shit out of people and they realize they can't contest her, so they don't even bother challenging. Anyway, about 30 minutes later, WWE announced Lynch Dupree for next week. It's logical booking, but it's boring. Again, we just saw this match 6 weeks ago, and it sucked. There's no reason to do it. Rollins wore the choker chain that pisses me off, with fans loudly chanting CM Punk after his serenade later on Raw. It's funny how many people I see online talking about, this Punk Rollins feud. It's going on forever. It's so boring. Why won't it end? It's like fans, us included, cried for years about long-term storytelling. But now that they're actually getting it, us not included, they're angry that long-term actually means, long-term. They also chanted OTC. Then he got a second serenade, Rollins did, mixed in with other various chants I couldn't make out. My TV volume was pretty low. I'll remind you, something else people out there say is that Rollins is boring and uninteresting on the mic and they don't like his character. This guy is presently the top men's heel in WWE. He had the crowd chanting for 2 different baby faces without him saying a word. Interestingly, the only one they didn't chant for was his opponent that he was actually there to talk about in Cody. Rollins said that his 0-3 record is neither bothersome nor relevant because it was all in the past, that was just them trying to reach the top. Now they're actually both there. He took issue with fans who would rather have Cody lead WWE than his vision. Rollins praised himself for sticking around WWE when times were tough, taking 2 young studs under his wing, and trying to rid WWE of cancers like Punk, Roman Reigns, and Rhodes. Cody came out basically saying Seth's argument was silly because the fans decide the vision of WWE, not any one wrestler. Cody suggested it was Heyman who sent the vision to SmackDown over Seth's head. Rollins said every vision decision goes through him. So Rhodes countered, asking if he also decided to let Heyman announce Lesnar. He finally gave up wedge driving, wondering where they both will be in 20 years, maybe backstage in gorilla position running the show. Then he put over Rollins for being the MVP of WrestleMania 40, his shield, and perhaps misguided a potential friend. Rollins kind of snapped, saying that was not friendship, it was a means to an end, helping the lesser of two evils. Rollins said they would never work together in the future. Cody's not better, he's not even his equal. Then Seth declared he would use Crown Jewel to cleanse the timeline and begin his vision into the future by vanquishing Rhodes. Then later backstage, before the main event, Rollins was almost catatonic and singularly focused in beating Cody. Even as Heyman insisted he would win, Seth made it clear he had to win. So was this as successful as the first confrontation? Maybe not. It was a great, worthwhile follow-up nonetheless. Frankly, considering the video package that came before it, I legitimately just thought they were going to miss the entire show. So not just better than nothing, but actually valuable on top of that. Recanting the friendship part of the story as a means to an end, given Rollins' character has changed markedly since, that was important. His character work, his facial expressions, the subtleness of his emotions here, it really drove home the point he was trying to get across to the viewer. He wants to always have the moral high ground, but knows that in this case, with Cody, of all people especially, he just doesn't. And I'm definitely interested in this match. Again, from the standpoint of Rollins needing to win. I'm seriously interested. But you cannot have it go the other way. Cody already has one of the rings. Seth's story literally calls for him to get one over on the other champion so he can claim dominion over WWE for his vision. Plus, Rhodes has been working hurt in kayfabe, if you remember back, the last 2 months. That can absolutely play into the match and give him an excuse to take the L. The dude does not need to win everything, and so far, he's basically only lost to Cena over the last 17 months. So I thought all of this hit, but yeah, Rollins must win. There's really no choice. He's dead without it, and then he's 0-4 against this guy. How do you book that? It's got to be Rollins winning this match. There was a cool parallel here, the way Rollins spoke about Rhodes. It was similar to how he spoke about Roman Reigns and Drew Ambrose when they were breaking up the Shield, basically unwilling to admit they were ever his actual friends, saying the entire time they were just tools he was using. That way he could, in that case back in the day, architect his leadership role in WWE, now to execute his vision, of course, in WWE. Sports and Reality TV at Sports Reality TV wrote in, he said, I think we all believed that Seth needed to win the match at Crown Jewel, but after tonight, this was sent Monday after Raw. He said, I think that's exactly why Cody should win. Seth's story is so much more interesting if he loses. So many ways he can go if he loses the match. If he wins, it's just kind of standard stuff. Plus, it saves Seth finally beating Cody for a future WrestleMania possibly. What do you think? I disagree. I mean, Seth's story is more interesting if he loses. How? What's interesting? He lost to a guy who wasn't Punk and wasn't Reigns. Those are the two main feuds that he's in. He did it in an off-schedule situation in a champion versus champion match in Crown Jewel. He's now 0-4 against Cody. So if he wins one match at WrestleMania, let's say, what's that really going to mean? Don't forget, Rollins is a heel, not a babyface. So he beats Cody at WrestleMania as a heel. Is he going to get cheered? What's the payoff of that? They're not going to turn Cody heel. So I don't see any way that Cody beating Seth makes sense or is quote-unquote best for business. To me, you have to have Rollins win, establish the vision as serious. He has to take that title all the way into WrestleMania, and whether they do Punk or Reigns, or frankly, man, I know it sounds crazy, but we've been talking about this for months. Is it going to be Punk? Is it going to be Reigns on that show? What if they redo the triple threat? Because again, when Seth is in the ring, the fans are chanting for two people, CM Punk and Roman Reigns. And I know that not getting Punk and Rollins to end the feud finally and crown Punk as champion, I know that will rankle people. I know still not getting Rollins and Reigns one-on-one at WrestleMania, the big main event, night 2 match, that would rankle some people. But at some point, you have to listen to the fan sentiment, and they're chanting for both dudes. And that first match was a massive success. So I'm just saying, don't put that out of your mind entirely as a possibility. But we're still months away from WrestleMania, and I'm sure plans will crystallize as we get closer. So the main event of Raw was the Usos against The Vision in a tornado match. Huge spot early was Jimmy tossing Bronson Reed off the announce table, only for Braun Breaker to run off the barricade for a flying clothesline, collapsing the table. Jey got his ass kicked after this until Jimmy respawned, hit a huge pop-up Samoan drop on Breaker. Major credit to Breaker, getting super high in the air for that. Jimmy ate Jagged Edge coming back, with Jey taking a spear moments later. Breaker then stacked the Usos with Reed climbing to a corner where he simply never could have possibly landed Tsunami from. It was way too far. He does not get lift on his jump. But anyway, as he gets into the corner, Reigns' music surprisingly hits. He charges the ring, single arm flipped Breaker out of the ring like he was nothing. Then he beat Reed with a steel chair and got a shot on Breaker as well. The Usos took it from there with super kick, spear, double Uso splash for the win, with Reigns holding his finger up watching it all go down. I'm not sure that WWE completely thought through the booking here, because while Reigns returning was fantastic, it made the Usos look like absolute shit. The Vision had them beaten clean, dead to rights, and they needed Big Cuz to come in and save them. They weren't outnumbered. There was no cheating since it was a tornado match. The Vision just had them beat. Reigns coming in obviously makes sense in storyline, given the way he was taken out by the Vision after the Reed match. But I was just trying to think about this, like, what does this actually mean going forward? If we get Roman Bronson as a rematch in Australia, that plays because of Australia, but Rollins is busy with Rhodes, so they can't do a 6-man. What came after this seemed to me to tip us off in terms of the match that they're going to book. So once the heels, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, were vanquished, Reigns dapped up Jey in an extremely strong way while completely ignoring Jimmy. Staring at Jey, flexing, nodding his head, he repeated, "What did I tell you? What did I tell you? What did I tell you?" He also said something along the lines of, like, "This is your show, F them all, it's only about you." He was gassing up Jey, getting in his head, putting him into the championship mentality that Roman used to dominate when he initially made that return during the pandemic, wreck everyone and leave type shit. This was not tribal chief stuff. Jimmy is just there watching from the side, not getting an ounce of respect or attention from Big Oos. I loved this because, as I said before, the Jey character, with Roman being the devil on his shoulder, is intensely interesting, and it's believable. It all circles back to the way right-hand man and becoming heir to the tribal chief throne, how that was all taken from him, given to Solo Sikoa. Reigns is a character. He has not changed, but he does have a newfound appreciation and respect for his family, specifically Jey, who, based on what he's done the last few months, he appears to see him almost as a peer at this point. Someone on his level who, like, is legitimate world title caliber as a performer, but he suffered the same type of lesson Roman did early in his career, but has now since learned how to overcome. Again, extremely compelling when you crystallize it as Roman corrupting Jey for a second time, just in a different way. He's positive, but also toxic. And then you have Jimmy on the outside, again, watching all this happen, similar to the first time. Does he cut it off? Do they turn on him? I'm extremely interested in this now. I presume what this means is that we are going to get Roman and Jey teaming up against the Vision at Crown Jewel. Jimmy kept away from them. Definitely repetitive. It's another non-title match involving all of these guys, but it does set up the conflict within the Bloodline side while advancing the story until War Games, where all of this is clearly going to blow up. So while I did poke a few holes in the booking of the main event itself, long term, this is valuable. And obviously getting Reigns back on TV individually is great. Also, when you look at this from a more global standpoint, and this is how we'll wrap up the main event, the Vision has really come into its own. Feuds related to the faction right now involve Cody, CM Punk, Roman, the Usos, LA Knight, and obviously AJ Lee. There's still improvements to be made, no doubt. Maybe they need some type of comic relief element. I'd be okay with another woman. The way that Paul Heyman has returned, but not heavily dominated the mic when Rollins has been, building this feud with Rhodes, that's been super positive. The question is just going to be, like, how do they keep this up and how do they keep advancing it forward? But I will say, so far, so good. I know some people out there were out on the Vision initially, or maybe after a little bit. But I think with the addition of Becky Lynch, with Heyman taking a bit of a backseat, This thing is rolling pretty damn well. Okay, so that wraps up the main event. And before we get to the rest of the show, the Silver King does need to remind you that here at Getting Over,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well. For $5 a month, $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Over head. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Again, that is buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. We're a free show. We're an ad-free show. We would greatly appreciate your financial support. And I did also want to clarify, we have multiple new subscribers to buymeacoffee.com/gettingover who we appreciate. I think we have at least one, if not two, new 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. We will acknowledge all of you, I promise, in a forthcoming episode of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast, most likely this coming Tuesday. Again, just traveling, setting up the shows. Didn't have time to put everything together, but it is appreciated, it is noticed, and like I said, you will get your acknowledgement. All right, we have a ton of show left. As I just said, we are going to break down everything else that happened across SmackDown and Raw this week. You probably have an idea what's going to lead this segment, but as always, we're going to tackle it in the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hey, yo. Survey says one more for the good guy.
Say hello to the bad guy.
Don't sing it. Bring it.
Rhea Ripley opened Raw to a monster explosive pop. I mean, not saying as much would actually be selling short the way the fans reacted to her music alone. She was obviously angry at Kabuki Warriors, saying she had a feeling it would come to this, but hoped they could settle it all in the ring. Ripley said turning on their family, Io Sky, crossed the line. She dared them to come find her. Io came out instead, saying it breaks her heart to admit Rhea was right about them, but they're still her family, and she loves them. The lights went down in the arena with Asuka back in the snake makeup.
Thank you!
I actually think it's a centipede for what it's worth, but I digress. She was on the Titantron talking about mentoring and paving the way for Io, who is clearly ungrateful because she's choosing Rhea over them. Asuka said she still loves Io and will accept her back with an apology, pointing to Kairi Sane, who was indoctrinated, trying to convince Io to do the same thing. Asuka added that it was too late for Rhea, so Ripley told her to go to hell and recounted to Sky how she once got burned by her own family, and there's no going back. Io was upset, conflicted, saying she needed time. She left the ring. When she did, the Warriors immediately attacked Ripley from behind, with Io again heavily conflicted before running in to pull them off. Kairi stood between Io and Asuka on her knees, begging her, Io, don't do this, as Asuka loaded her mist and blinded Io. Ripley tried to save, but got run into the ring post with authority, taking 2 back fists and an insane elbow while Ripley was in a partial Asuka lock. Do I even need to tell you my grade on this? Obviously loved it. Loved that it opened the show. Loved the execution of Asuka's promo with the dropped lights, the production elements, the smoke. Loved the dramatic elements and the emotional conflict. Asuka gaslighting Io and Kairi going along with it. Doing the promo in Japanese and then clear English. It shows how far she's truly come in that way as well. Look, this wasn't acted like an Oscar film or anything like that, okay? Io, she over-emotes and she does a very cartoonish style expression when she's upset. We all know this, okay? But this was the coolest Asuka has been in a long-ass time. The crowd is completely invested in both Rhea trying to help Io and Io not knowing what's best. As I said last week, this is also the most interesting Kairi has ever been on the main roster. When she ultimately stands up for herself to Asuka, that's going to get a massive pop. And oh yeah, she still has the best elbow drop in all of wrestling. The insane elbow is picture perfect. What's amazing about this to me is that Ripley's the fourth wheel, and it's the storyline for her match in Australia, an angle revolving around 3 other extremely talented women, all deserving of their own spots. Regarding her promo, again, look, Rhea is never going to be a master on the mic, at least not for a few years. It's not her bag. She's incredibly talented. She has a great look and personality. The promo is just not as strong as the rest of the package. However, she got through this entire segment without "mommy is always on top" or any of her other trite phrases, and to me, that was a massive positive. So I didn't really need to make that justification, but this was definitely good. Kairi later checked on Io, who was still in pain from the mist. She pleaded with her that it's not too late to follow her and apologize to Asuka because she will be forgiven. Instead, Sky yelled at Sane to get away from her, but as she walked away, Kairi handed Io an old picture of them together in their social lives. And the way Io looked at it, it just reminded me of that like Wolverine meme when he's looking at the photo of himself. That's just, it popped me a little bit when I saw that. Rhea later confronted Io, who reiterated that Ripley was right the entire time, but Io told Rhea that she got Pierce to book them in a tag team match at Crown Jewel. Ripley questioned this because she saw Io talking to Kairi. Io said her friend is simply lost right now. She wanted to fight, and they hugged each other. Aw. What I like about this storyline from a detail standpoint is that all of it is believable. The mentor-mentee relationship in Japan is real. The mentees are treated with respect, but they are put at a lower level. And specifically in this case, they have been working together with Asuka paving the way for them for 15-ish years. Asuka and Io have been working since Io was a teenager. The conflict is obviously fabricated for TV, but the relationship and the circumstances are not. A person like Io in this situation would be conflicted about not sticking with her mentor. She sees them doing wrong, not respecting her all these years later. That's soul-crushing. So for me, this is cooking. It's the top storyline on Raw right now by a significant margin. Hell, it's the top storyline in WWE, as far as I'm concerned. This was definitely good. WWE Women's Championship, Tiffany Stratton defending against Jade Cargill and Nia Jax in a triple threat match. I know many of you have been waiting for me to talk about this all week, and that's exactly what we're going to do right now. Jade backstage said that she's so sick of all of them that it'll feel great to win and become champion. Stephanie Vaquer slid into the frame for a quick confrontation. Vaquer got a far larger pop than Jade. Same thing went when she confronted Stratton. It was formulaic, but Tiffy continued sounding more realistic when she spoke. Jax later tore apart a Slagent audition poster. Hysterically, the logo for Chelsea Green was the Chelsea FC logo with her face in the middle. Go Blues. Jax had the same confrontation with Vaquer. Super formulaic. Just all three of these one after another. Cole went deep talking about Stratton's 15-match winning streak in 2025, the only undefeated superstar on either brand. He said that, and you know what? Fair enough to point it out. Should have lost twice already, but she is undefeated, and you do need to call that out. Now, this obviously main evented the show with 15 minutes left. Cargill hit Stratton with like an inside-out pump handle slam. Nia leg dropped Jay to break a fall. Tiffy tried to capitalize with a double swanton bomb, but only hit it on Jax before being booted by Cargill. Tiffy and Jade combined for a double superplex of Nia. A similar sequence to earlier that I mentioned followed as Tiffy tried to do a double prettiest moonsault ever, only to hit Jax for a broken fall. Cargill caught Stratton doing her handspring back elbow, transitioning it into a somewhat clumsy and clunky, but still impressive Jaded, only for Jax to pull the referee out of the ring. Jade tried to put Nia into the announce table, only for Jax to forcefully chuck her into the steel steps. Cargill's entire eyebrow got busted open hard way. She must have gone like headfirst into the corner or something. We as viewers didn't see it, but until she lifted Nia for like a Samoan drop into the bottom step, suddenly the camera pans and there is blood literally dripping out of her head all over the floor, down her face. She screamed into the camera like a total badass. The referee tried to stop the bleeding. That led to like a match delay, and the entire match just completely collapsed from there. And I want to be clear, Jade getting injured is not what collapsed the match. That was just the like point in the match where all of a sudden everything went off the rails. So let me first tell you what the planned finish was. It was Jade hitting Eye of the Storm on Nia, Tiffy breaking the fall with a shotgun dropkick, landing on Nia senton style, and stealing the 1-2-3. Instead, Jade hit Eye of the Storm on Nia. Nia thought Tiffy was going to be late with her dropkick, so she kicks out. That's an erroneous decision because Tiffy did get there, but it's one that Nia made nonetheless. At that moment, you have to go to a new finish. Instead, Stratton just covered Jax. At that point, if you're Nia, you have to kick out again because it wouldn't make sense to kick out 5 seconds earlier, have nothing else happen to you, and then get pinned. But since Jax didn't kick out again, the referee stopped her count cold in a blatant all-around botch. Then Stratton did a standing elbow drop and prettiest moonsault ever, just extra after the fact, to retain the title. Like, what a disaster. The fault started with Nia assuming Tiffy would be late. Then it was on the referee for not counting the fall in front of her, given Stratton was winning anyway. We didn't want this triple threat in the first place. And to quote Kenny KGB, this finish left me so unsatisfied. The match was rolling along okay, worse than Tiffy Jade, worse than Tiffy Nia, respectively, but still fine, with some cool sequences the crowd was into. Then Cargill gets completely busted open, and I'm thinking, man, use that. So she does. Then she gets unceremoniously ejected from the ring with a dropkick, and then the match ends in clunky fashion. So WWE didn't finish Tiffy Jade to run the triple threat, only to have Tiffy still retain the title. Does that mean we're going to get Stratton and Cargill 3 after Crown Jewel? Because who the hell else is there for her to even fight Stratton on SmackDown? You bet your ass we're getting that match again, because Jade had the win stolen from her twice now. That's the booking. It's true. I don't even know what else to say about it. This was mostly good, partially bad, partially ugly. It was like a grab bag of this segment's parts all inside of 15 minutes. There was also a missed Tope Suicida earlier. This was just a straight up mess from top to bottom, which is a shame because, again, we've seen Stratton work well with both of them one-on-one individually. And as far as people going after Nia for the gash in Jade's head, did she throw her into the steps roughly? Yes. Does shit happen sometimes? Even to the best out there? Of course it does. To suggest she was specifically reckless just because something bad happened is unfair. Enough folks understood that she deservingly shed that label from, the way she returned and working much, much safer than she did before. Don't just throw it back at her because it's convenient. That's not fair. In terms of an overall grade, like I said, it had parts of good, bad, and ugly. So I'm going to kind of split the difference across the board here. I'm going to say bad. But up until that gash on Jade's forehead, this was rolling along pretty well. And with a clean finish, it probably would have gotten a good. Bianca Belair, by the way, getting injured seriously derailed this division. There's no way the Big Three storyline would have ended as early as it did if she was around. SmackDown lost Naomi because of that. Belair is still not back 5 full months later. The finger injury must have been one of those catastrophic ones where the whole thing just explodes. Maybe WWE expected her back sooner and therefore didn't want to upturn the SmackDown division, but holy shit, they got to do something. Between the repetitiveness here, the completely vacant mid-card, this division is at a serious low. The Raw Tag Team titles don't even get defended, yet that division is better than this one just by default. Jade should have won this title already. We all know it. We've talked about it. Stephanie Vaquer backstage on Raw said she's ready for any challenger, including Tiffany, who she respects, but she will learn that Vaquer is unstoppable. Stratton shared the sentiment, but she said that she's been the champion for the better part of a year, remained dominant, and will prove why, compared to Vaquer, who's only been a champion for 2 weeks, she is still the best in WWE. Something must have clicked in Tiffany the last couple of weeks. Maybe she's being scripted less by the creative team because she's coming across so much more natural on promos. That said, her promos still have absolutely no content to them, and the build for this, it's not even in the same stratosphere as it is for the men, which is obvious because they obviously have detailed history and these women don't. But they definitely could have done more here, and because of that, I'm going with a bad. Drew McIntyre opened hour 2 of SmackDown in a big walking boot. McIntyre recalled his history in Orlando before blaming Rhodes for him not being WWE champion, pointing out a delayed count by the referee, the same referee stopping his Claymore into the announce table. He questioned whether the ref works for WWE or Cody, but he said he didn't blame the ref, who has a family to feed, but he blames Rhodes, who is clearly a corruptive influence. Nick Aldis came out saying he understands McIntyre's point of view, but hey, shit happens. Don't make excuses. Aldis suggested the boot on McIntyre's foot was not legitimate, and he refused to continue listening to McIntyre complain. Drew continued ranting, only for Jacob Fatu to return once McIntyre claimed that he was the most dangerous man in the ring. So Fatu comes out, steals the mic away, tells him stop bitching. McIntyre took it back, saying Fatu's been on a great run, but he's not about to get punked by him. So Fatu stole the mic again and basically did all his signatures only to eat a Glasgow kiss. He responded by ripping off the boot and then drilling Drew in the face with that boot to stand tall. I legitimately have no idea how to feel about this. So I guess I need to just talk it through with you guys. On one hand, it's a completely fresh storyline for both. It gets Jacob back on TV, where he's been sorely missed. It moves Drew away from Cody, at least temporarily. The other side is that Aldis's dismissiveness, it hurt McIntyre's character, and I cannot imagine WWE bringing Fatu back only to have him lose. That means McIntyre, who should be champion, would theoretically be losing to an upper mid-carder and falling further down the card himself. I can certainly see this benefiting Jacob. I don't see how it can benefit Drew at all. I'll give this a conditional good, but as you heard, I have legitimate concerns. It is nevertheless fresh for both guys, and that on its own should be extremely interesting programming. Also, McIntyre cutting like squeaky clean promos in 2025. Does he really need to say BS? BS, BS, the way he says it, instead of just bullshit? I get it's a PG show. You can say bullshit a couple times. Use it. LA Knight and Adam Pearce backstage argued about whether he did a good job as special guest referee in the tag team match. Pearce said the rematch tonight is not about him, and Knight agreed, reminding he is still owed a legitimate one-on-one match with Seth Rollins for the World Championship. Enter New Day, actually getting to speak on TV, not a commercial break segment, still pissed about the Mexican Destroyer, demanding a tag team title shot. Pearce told them to earn it, and it evolved from there as expected, with Knight getting a match against another former world champion in Kingston. Anytime Kofi gets recognized as a world champion is a positive for me. It always just makes me happy because I think people forget about too frequently. In terms of Pearce basically telling New Day to go earn a title shot, okay, how about you book them in some like 2-on-2 tag team matches against the other teams in the division, have them win, and then, I don't know, give them a title shot. Like, why do Judgment Day not have contenders or challengers? It doesn't really make any sense. So we had Knight against Kingston. LA went for the double jump elbow, but Xavier Woods jumped on the apron. He called an audible. Knight ducked Trouble in Paradise, but after Kingston countered a backdrop by flipping over his shoulders, Knight caught him on the landing for a BFT and the win. The breakdown was short because the match was rather basic. I did enjoy the finishing sequence. It was a positive that Knight won. I don't believe commentary sold the gimmick of beating a former champion afterward as much as they should. That was really the entire point of the match. I might have missed it, but I really just think they missed it. This was good. U.S. Open Challenge, Sami Zayn against a mystery opponent. Zayn dapped up Rey Fenix backstage, putting him over as his best challenger yet. Shinsuke Nakamura stalked in the background as they wondered who would get the shot next week. Javon Evans from NXT got a really, really nice response in Orlando. This was also teased on NXT Homecoming last Tuesday. Evans hit his typical big bounce tope con hero and red dot. Javon then caught Sami on the top rope for an avalanche hurricanrana out of a Spanish fly setup. Zayn caught him swinging for an exploder suplex, but Evans countered Helluva Kick almost with a claymore, only to miss his double jump tornillo splash. Javon dodged another Helluva Kick attempt, landing his double jump OG cutter for a false finish. Crowd nearly lost its shit, chanting "Ref, you suck," for a guy, a neophyte, fighting Sami Zayn. Just that's how over Javon Evans was. Sami ultimately dodged another springboard attempt, and as Javon rolled into the corner to gather himself, Zayn attacked him with Helluva Kick, adding Blue Thunderbomb as a chaser to get the win. The crowd still popped massively for Sami's retention. Zayn physically lifted Evans off the mat, like literally pat him on the back and got the crowd going to cheer him. It was kind of emotional for him to go through those lengths just for the kid. This was a tremendous match, a great surprise, and exactly what SmackDown needed. An injection of energy and excitement. I'm not suggesting Javon's getting called up, but consider this segment and how much of a difference it made to your overall experience of watching the show Friday. And this kid has a bright, bright future. He's going to be a great NXT champion one day. Hell, he's going to be a great WWE champion one day and be over, like Jeff Hardy. Mark my words on that. 4.25 stars and an A. Good. Oh, by the way, this was the third match won by a Blue Thunderbomb this year. Love the Helluva Kick into the Blue Thunderbomb setup. That is massively positive. The United States Championship feels rejuvenated as we theorized. This was a massively positive segment. Intercontinental Championship, Dominic Mysterio against Rusev. Real great response to Dom at the bell. Real great line from Wade Barrett crowing about the Ryder Cup. Rusev caught Dom on a tope suicida, immediately chucking him over the announce table with a fall-away slam. Later, Dom did a 619 into Rusev's midsection and another classic version, but the challenger dodged the frog splash chaser, hit Mashka kick for a finish the crowd bought as false. Dom slithered out of the accolade and attempted to leave with his titles, but when the referee removed one, Dom slammed Rusev in the back with the other. He completely no-sold it, so Dom literally threw him the title, which Rusev caught. The referee was having none of it. He called him on his shit immediately, so Dom hugged him into the corner, mule-kicked Rusev, rolling him up tight for the 1-2-3. I hope that Hot and Flexible isn't bothered with that finish. This was classic Eddie Guerrero, lie, cheat, steal, the perfect, appropriate use of a roll-up to end a match. Dom is not about to go out there and beat Rusev clean. You're not switching the title. You're avoiding a DQ as well. Plus, cheating on your own as a heel it actually shows you're smart and cunning, whereas doing it through interference largely makes you look not as worthwhile as a champion. Makes you look like a coward in many ways. The failure in front of the referee, getting caught dead to rights, that was legitimately great. And while I don't want rematches generally, I wouldn't mind one more here because they actually worked extremely well together, even if it could have been a little bit longer. Rusev actually looked really good, no selling the shot. What's crazy is how the crowd is so hot for the finish. Like universal cheers for Dominic Mysterio. He's a heel being cheered like a babyface. If you really think about it, it's really for no reason whatsoever. They just like him that much. Again, I'm curious how that plays with the Finn Balor split storyline because those guys are actually the faces here in storyline. I would bet once Liv Morgan comes back, Dom goes full face. Again, not for any real reason other than fan sentiment has changed. When he does go full face, it's going to be insane how over he actually gets with the crowd. This was good. Bayley backstage was all happy-go-lucky, wearing Lyra Valkyria's shirt, thanking her for the help last week, hoping to do the same thing again. Valkyria called her out for shoving her at no reason, basically, at the end of that match, which led to Bayley's brain breaking a little bit. She got confronted with her split psyche, kind of converging is the word I wanted to use there. Lyra said she can't do it anymore, so Bayley took off the shirt, walked to the ring, hugged the fan, but was certainly not in hugger mode, more like regular babyface Bayley. So we had Bayley against Raquel Rodriguez. Raquel countered a tornado DDT with a toss slam. Bayley came back with a middle rope draping cutter and bottom rope tope suicida before a hurricanrana off the apron got caught into a barrier swing. Bayley then did a twist of fate ringside with the Hardy Boys celebration. Commentary missed it. Then she did an elbow drop onto Rodriguez's back, plus the same Hardy taunt before hitting a swanton bomb, which Barrett did call out as the Hardys because they were in North Carolina. Raquel caught Bayley flying for an inverted fallaway slam and a corkscrew elbow bomb that needs a name. The Vader bomb, basically. It's a corkscrew elbow drop. They unfortunately botched a counter, so Bayley did a regular stunner. Then Bayley did a figure four as Ric Flair, basically. But the referee boxed Roxanne Perez out of interfering. She ran around the ring, raked Bayley's eyes behind the referee's back, allowing Raquel to hit a big boot and Tahana bomb for the win. The heels attacked after the bell, giving Valkyria basically no choice but to save. She got dispatched with the Setamora knee. Bayley snapped watching Lyra get hurt, hitting a huge running knee to Rodriguez and clearing the ring. Then she menacingly stalked over Lyra, standing over her, doing her heel laugh, calling her an idiot while being happy that she helped her, and they actually stood tall together. WWE is really doing a great job with these two and their storyline. Bayley is killing this character. She's back to doing what she does best, wrestling well. And now she's intriguing because you literally never know what's going to happen in terms of her next reaction or the next time you speak to her. Something that made me laugh here was Lyra running down, making the save, wearing the shortest skirt. Okay, it was probably a skort, but the shortest skort I've probably ever seen a wrestler wear running down to the ring. I laughed thinking to myself, no woman in history had made a save in street clothes like that. Anyway, real solid match with the exception of the brief botch. I loved the Hardy shoutouts. It was booked rather well too, especially since the goal is to at least go into a tag team match next. Hell, maybe they'll actually reform the team and become number one contenders again before all falls apart. I do wonder how deep the Bayley stuff will go. Is it a modern day Three Faces of Foley? Is it just something brief that she's doing to revitalize herself? I don't know the answer, but this was definitely good. To my utter shock, AJ Styles and Dragon Lee got to cut a promo before their forthcoming match. Dragon said it's an honor to share the ring with AJ. They will be phenomenal together. And as the number one contender for the AAA Mega title, he's coming for the dirtiest of the dirty in Dominic Mysterio. Then Styles thanked the fans for getting him into the match with John Cena at Crown Jewel, giving him one more chance to beat up John Cena. It was painful to hear the crowd not react to Dragon because the guy is really good. He just needs to get some wind in his sails. When he wrestles, people pop crazy for him. Speaking, he's just another guy they have no real reason to care about. The Styles part of this was solid. I'm glad Dragon got promo time. Don't get me wrong. He needs opportunities. But when you're building Cena Styles and you don't have Cena, probably better to give AJ most of the 5 minutes or whatever. So I'm going to actually say a light bad here, but only for the reasons I mentioned. There was nothing actually wrong with it or offensive about it per se. So we had AJ Styles and Dragon Lee against Los Americanos. The other Americanos are officially Bravo and Rayo, which is a huge fail. I literally gave WWE Alto and Corto on the show for free. How does Grande, Bravo, and Rayo come together? That doesn't really make any sense. The non-grande Americanos wrestled, often pausing to do old-school Mexican luchador poses to pop the crowd. Dragon basically missed a hanging double stomp because whichever dude didn't pick up his body high enough. Styles got the hot tag, but Grande temporarily thwarted it outside the ring. Styles hit phenomenal forearm on one Americano before Dragon threw the other into him for a Styles clash. He also cleared the deck with a tope suicida as the faces got the win. Fun match for establishing the Americanos as guys who can actually go while giving Dragon some rub from AJ. It did feel a little bit like a lot of stuff jammed into a singular spot on the show. Didn't flow like the rest of Raw. Like good. Cena, Styles, one final match. It's going to be special. Styles may be Cena's best opponent from an in-ring standpoint. They were always great together. We had the Street Profits against Mello Don't Miz, number one contendership for the tag team titles. The Profits in gorilla position said coming up short makes them hungrier, and there's no tension between them because family always has each other's backs. The heels outsmarted the Profits multiple times in the match, including Miz pulling Angelo Dawkins off the apron, allowing Carmelo Hayes to hit first 48. Mello was climbing for nothing but net when Miz tagged himself in, but Mello grabbed his arm, preventing him from getting involved out of anger from him stealing spotlight. That allowed Montez Ford to tag out and Dawkins to go on a run, hitting the anointment and From the Heavens, which is now apparently the name of Ford's Frog Splash, for the win. Mello chose not to break the fall when he had a chance at the end. I'm fine with the story that's being told here, and when it comes to Mello Don't Miz, it's kind of time now at this point to shit or get off the pot. Do a turn, one of them, and let's actually develop the story. I'm assuming nothing's going to happen until after Crown Jewel. That's okay. After Crown Jewel, this story needs to progress. I'm not sure creative has done well ensuring fans realize Mello is clearly the babyface in this situation. Fans love Miz so much that it feels like no matter what Mello does, he's going to get booed. This match was okay, neither team at its best. I'm at an extremely, extremely light good because really there was just nothing wrong with it at all. Oh yeah, the Wyatt Six appeared ringside afterward because now the Profits are the number one contenders. Not necessarily a match I'm looking forward to seeing. It does seem weird now that I think about it. They're running concurrent potential breakup angles for a well-established team in the Profits and a neophyte one in Mello Don't Miz. You have both of these teams on one show, and like they're both not successful, but you have tons of other tag teams that are great that you're not even using. When's the last time in a wrestling capacity we saw Motor City Machine Guns or DIY on television? We saw DIY on NXT, and like Miz screwed over Johnny Gargano, and then we never saw any follow-up to that. Like, man, the Six have just murked this division, and SmackDown Creative, again, it leaves a lot to be desired week to week. Solo Sikoa cut his third taped promo, reintroducing JC Mateo, putting him over as the pound-for-pound baddest and strongest guy who has won championships all over the world. Sikoa also respected Mateo for stepping up when Fatu turned on the family, promising his loyalty would be rewarded. Mateo responded in kind, I love you, Solo. 3 for 3 on these. But again, it's all about how they deliver this terribly named faction coming out of these videos. So a light potential good here. Damian Priest came across Kit Wilson, who criticized him as a toxic male who didn't chokeslam him through a wall, but through centuries of patriarchal trauma. Aleister Black was stalking Priest from behind as Wilson in a shoulder sling shoved him and called him toxic. When he tried to run away, he fell over his own wheelchair. Priest said, bitches be trippin'. And then Black appeared behind him, catching him blind with Black Mass. Black seemed to indicate that they should settle this feud in what feels like the 150th Last Man Standing match we'll review in the history of this podcast. I actually really enjoyed this segment. It stood out from the monotony of SmackDown. The Priest Black angle, it's just missing a level of legitimate heat. It feels extremely contrived for some reason. Individually, this was good. Among their best segments together, I will say, though, I'm really not loving this whole Kit Wilson toxic masculinity gimmick. It really feels to me like something Vince McMahon would have done, and I don't know. There's something about it that just doesn't really work. It's tough to put my finger on it. Michin and B-Fab, speaking about things that don't really work, fought Julia and Kiana James. Zero crowd energy or interest in the faces here. Julia was clearly a different class from the other three when she got in the ring. Fans cared about her, but only moderately so. Michin actually caught her with a great missile dropkick running off the announce table. She also had a tornado DDT stepping off Julia's chest, and she hit Eat Defeat on Kiana. only to take arrivederci and the Northern Lights bomb from Julia, who got the win in 10 minutes. I almost want to give this an automatic good because the women who have been underutilized and hidden got 10 minutes to go, quote unquote, all out, like to their abilities. The problem is that Julia is being hamstrung, stuck working with these women who, frankly, other than Mi Chin, don't belong in the ring with her. Mi Chin actually has a way of getting the crowd behind her as matches develop, but she's never really been given a character or storyline reason for anyone to give a shit about her. She's perfectly serviceable as a low-card wrestler. She deserves to be there. Julia, like I said, clearly on another level. B-Fab, I'm just being honest. This should have been her swan song, man. She cannot keep up. There's literally dozens of women in NXT who would do better for WWE on the main roster. Kiana is an anchor weighing Julia down. I also questioned why Julia beat Mi Chin again. Why are you not pinning B-Fab? So despite the overarching positive of TV time, I have to remain at a bad here. It's insane to see the juxtaposition of Vaquer and Julia for no legitimate reason other than shitty creative and division. That's the only reason for the difference. Both of them are extremely talented. Okay, can Vaquer speak English better? Sure. Is she more over coming out of NXT? Yes. Julia could be booked oodles better. I can't even believe I used that as a descriptor. She could be used so much better than she is being booked on SmackDown right now. It remains astonishing how bad the creative team on SmackDown, whatever part of it differs from the team from Raw, it is astonishing how bad it is comparatively. Zaruka from NXT confronted Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, saying they've admired them for quite some time, but they believed they deserve a tag team title shot. Charlotte said she cannot just give title opportunities at a whim anymore. Teams are waiting in line and they have not earned it. Zarya said that was rich coming from Flair. Bliss said they need to come together as a team and prove themselves if they want to get in the ring with them. So the whole tongue-in-cheek thing about like Charlotte's ability to call for title matches, that was fun. But the general concept of this segment made no sense. Why? Well, please tell me which teams are in line for a title shot. Go ahead. I'll wait. Like, maybe the Kabuki Warriors could make a claim, possibly. And who else? What other women's tag teams exist in WWE? Mi Chin and B-Fab, who just lost. Julia and Kiana, who had one match against the lowest women on the roster. You have the Judgment Day women, but they were champions, and now they're kind of being used in the singles division because otherwise you would just continue running Flair and Bliss against Judgment Day. Now, granted, look, Zaruka literally lost the number one contendership on NXT a month ago, so it's not like they have earned it since, and I appreciate that a match was not just granted for them asking, but at the same time, this did lack some logic. I'm still going to say light good, getting a really solid team from NXT on the main roster, but I remain flummoxed why Sol Ruka never gets to speak. It doesn't make a shred of sense. Is she developing or not? I love Zarya. She has a bright future as well. There's no question about it. Right now, Sol is the star of them two. She's up on SmackDown, and the other one, the heavy, is doing the talking. That just doesn't make sense. And lastly, this really isn't even a graded thing. I just wanted to mention the promo for Braun Strowman's USA Network eating show aired during SmackDown on Friday. This was taped like a year, 18 months ago, something like that. He was referred to by that name, Braun Strowman, during the entire taping before he was released by WWE. I have no clue if he was signed to some like non-competitive talent contract, but they are using the name and they're promoting it during a WWE show. It would lead one to believe that he still has some relationship with the company one way or another. All right, folks, that wraps up the WWE edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Like I said, the schedule is all messed up. My expectation is that Friday afternoon, sometime before the evening hours hit, we will have your NXT and AEW show. And then after that, starting next Tuesday, we are back fully on schedule as we have been for 5+ years of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. WWE on Tuesday, NXT and AEW on Thursday. We'll also be back doing the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling and your weekly news updates as well. All of that, of course, on buymeacoffee.com/gettingover, where you do need to remember,
I happen to love the number 5.
because you can subscribe over there. Buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, exclusive news analysis posts every week. We would greatly appreciate your financial support. You can follow us on social media at Getting Overcast. On Twitter and Blue Sky, you get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, and all of that good stuff. You can also send in questions and comments for the show. Don't forget to continue doing that. And lastly, on the way out, please remember,
It's all about the 5.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple, take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. All right, it is Wednesday evening in New York City. The Silver King is about to go out, hit the town. So let's put a bow on this episode. This is the Silver King signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.